is tea time. Yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome to Tea Time. That's right, Miss Liz is back, and you guys all know what that means, right? We're teaching educational awareness through storytelling and words. That's how Miss Liz serves tea at this house. I have a surprise tea time today. It is Tuesday. As you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are surprise, rescheduled, or special tea times that have come. And got Miss Liz's attention again. So I have the returning guest of Lillian Brumpton here, and she's going to be talking about intentional networking. We both felt that that was a topic that needed to come to the table, and we want to bring that up. But we also have some different types of teas that we're going to be serving. So we're going to be serving tenacious, environmental, accountable, knowledge, generous, and responsible or proactive. So that's the type of tea we're going to be serving today, along with the intentional networking. So before we get started, we're going to get you over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel and ring that little doorbell so you can subscribe to Miss Liz's YouTube channel and watch all of these incredible tea times. And you can see Lillian's previous tea time that she had with me in season 4. And see the difference in growth and topics and stuff that we talk about. So I'll get you all over to that YouTube channel and enjoy those cups of teas over there. So let's get started with the disclaimer and bio, and then let's get Lillian in here and let's spill some tea with you guys and have some fun. So if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, you know how it works. Put it into the comment section of the conversation or send the questions directly to Miss Liz on my Facebook page, and I will get those out to Lillian if they are related to the discussion that we're having today. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forth for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forth in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and we'll see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, the original date for tea time is Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's a rescheduled surprise or special tea time. And today we have a surprise tea time. So now a little bit on my guess. Who is Lillian? Well, Lillian Brumpton is an award-winning poet, author, blogger, and entrepreneur celebrated for her expertise in networking and marketing. She's passionately shares invaluable advice to support writers, reviewers, bloggers, and entrepreneurs in their journeys. Lillian's encourages everyone to connect. Feel free to share, like, subscribe, or comment on her blog posts and YouTube channel. And don't forget to check out her books. She's always open to an innovative collaboration idea. And we do have one of Lillian's books here because Miss Liz just does that. I get them. So let me get Lillian in here and then we'll show you what book I have. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. So welcome, Lillian.
Hi, thank you for having me on your show again. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Right? I always love when my guests come back because then I know that I'm doing something right because they enjoy sharing more tea with me.
That's right. And I got iced tea actually today because it's a little warm. So I've got my iced tea happening.
Well, that's good. And I also have my cup of tea here that I'm drinking. I'm drinking just a nice warm herbal black tea My throat
Okay.
has a little itch in it, so I'm just doing a little dark tea. So we are drinking tea, the beverage, but we are serving different teas in the house. So Lillian, for all the viewers who didn't see you on last season's show, could you share a little bit about who you are and what you do? And let's start with the little girl first, and then who you are today.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm originally from the United States. I currently live in the Kootenay region of BC, Canada. I moved to Canada with my family, my mom and brothers, when I was about 7 years old or something like that. So I've been here a good long time, pretty much a Canadian citizen. Well, I am legally a Canadian citizen, but you know what I mean. It feels like I was born here. But my previous family life was a little bit unusual. My mom loved nature, and she loved identifying wildflowers and wild crafting and like cooking from scratch and doing all kinds of, reuse regarding, making rag rugs and things like that. She was really into that kind of stuff. So that was a really wholesome environment regarding that. She was also mostly vegetarian just simply because we were poor. So most of the time, in between husbands, she had 5 of them, we were on our own. So she had to raise those 3 kids on her own. She was super proud, never went on welfare, anything like that. So she worked, 3 jobs if she had to, and fed us out of her backyard garden if she had to, but we never went hungry. We always had clothes on our back and shoes on our feet. However, the home life was very tumultuous. So it was, there was a lot of neglect, there was bullying, there was abuse, all out, full out abuse going on in the home at various times. So all of us kids were on our own very, very young. Both my older brothers were on their own when they were 16. I was on my own before I was 14. Put myself through school, paid my own rent. Again, just like my mom, very, very proud. Didn't want to go into foster care or anything like that. So I took care of myself. And I met my husband when I was in my 20s, early 20. And we've been together for 34 years now, something like that. So I haven't followed in my mother's footsteps, other than I have a huge passion for the environment and reuse and repurposing, things like that.
Yeah, because that was our conversation when you were on last season, was about the homestead, right? And when we had that conversation, I went out and I actually got one of Lillian and Dave's
Yay.
books. So we got the cookbook, but this book is so much more than just a cookbook. And I got to look over it over the past couple of months. And in the back, what really I love about this book, Lillian, is the non-food. So the non-food recipes.
Right.
Because you know what it has? It has tea
Hmm.
recipes.
It does.
And that's
It
what really
does.
grabbed my attention, was the different tea recipes in the homes, and like in cleaning stuff and products and stuff like that as well, right? So yeah, so I really enjoyed that book. But Lillian, since then you have a new book that came out. So I want to talk about that
Yeah.
book a little bit, and then we're going to get into what we're going to be talking about. And that new book is called Down the Road, correct?
No, Down the Road is going to be coming out in November, just
Oh,
a couple of months from now. The one that I think you're talking about is Poetic Wanderings. That book was a collection of Dave's, my husband's father's lifetime collection of poetry, and it's our way of honoring his life by sharing his lifetime collection of poetry in that book. And it was a huge project. Huge project of going through file cabinets and printed files and online files, and none of it was convertible, so I had to do everything, type it all in. And it was like 300 and some odd poems in that book, so it was a lot, going back and finding an update and redoing the poem and stuff, and then writing his bio, doing a lot of research on his family, which was a really interesting project to do. So that came out just not too long ago. People can find that on Amazon, and it's getting some great sales, especially in Canada. So we're really appreciative of the poetry enthusiasts out there. Down the Road is coming out in November, so it is coming out soon. That is actually, again, focuses on Dave's family, and it's our way of honoring 3 different generations. So his grandmother, her immigration story from Romania and coming to Canada and marrying a blacksmith, and someone she hadn't met before, a widow with children, and her story. My husband's father, who grew up during the Depression, the after effects of the world wars, and all of the culture shock that was happening at that time. And then we also have Dave's Uncle Tony, who passed recently as well. None of them are with us anymore. And Uncle Tony was he held positions as like a principal for high schools and what have you. And eventually he worked himself into the government. And the 2 positions that I know of that he held was he was the Environment Minister of Canada for a season of whatever. I'm not sure what their contract is for. And then he was also the Environment Minister for Canada for a while. And he was responsible for making like securing several parks during his tenure, I think it's called. So I was really, really proud to be able to present his life story. Both the brothers, Uncle Tony and Dave's dad, Frank, also lost their father at a very, very young age. And so both of them had to kind of step up and be the men in the family and, go to work at a very young age and try to bring in the money and still go to school and stuff. So their stories were very unique, and gives a really fascinating insight into those time frames that I don't think is so easily attained. Hearing it from their personal story, their personal voice, their emotions that they went through, their most important memories that they shared in their memoirs and in their writings, that we were able to put out in this book. So it's a collection of their memoirs, and obviously I'm very proud to have it come out in November.
And through our last conversation on last season and this season, planting the seeds of legacy was something that's really been important to you and Dave, right? And that's how you created the Brummet Media Group as well, because you wanted to help and plant seeds out there in the network and marketing world as well. So could you tell us a little bit about the Brummet Media Group?
You're right. It's a huge passion for us. We decided that as entrepreneurs, we have an opportunity to create positive change. So we looked at every aspect of our business. What are our skills? What are the services that we're going to be offering? And how can we slant them in such a way that we're leaving a positive mark at the end of the day? So for writing, we might encourage other writers by, writing a review for their book. We might feature them on our blog for an interview to help support the world of writing. We might have nonprofits on our blog to support the nonprofit industries. There's various things that we can do in our business as well. We can network with local community organizations. And if they're going to have a fundraiser, a silent auction, if they're having any kind of event or project, is there some way we can get behind that or encourage our staff to get behind it? Or maybe we could collaborate with our connections and get them involved as well. So there's so many things that we can do as a business. So that was really our focus. We wanted to make a positive difference, leave a positive legacy, to feel like our life mattered, that there's reason why we exist, and also to encourage others to do likewise, to continue on their journey, but also to accelerate and better that journey by giving them the advice, the resources, sharing the stories of others that are, within the realm that they're in. So it's a fun thing to do. I have to say, writing has been like stepping into an ongoing university for for the last 20 some odd years. I mean, it's just ongoing. It never ends. It's ever changing. It's ever evolving. but also there's so many different tributaries from that ocean of writing, the genre of writing, that we can explore as writers. And sometimes there's almost too many choices because we want to do everything. So you have to sort of pick one and give it a try for a while until you start reaching burnout, and then try something else. And so, yeah, I love the world of writing.
Yeah. And writing is leaving a legacy, right? Because it's on the pen and
Mhm.
paper. It's being published in books and articles and blogs and all that as well. You do an
Mhm.
incredible job with the blogging, Lillian. So do
Thank
you
you.
want to share a little bit about the blogging on how people can connect with you for blogging?
Sure. Yes. So as an entrepreneur, you need to have ways of communicating about your business out there. And for some people, it might be a podcast. For another person, it might be their newsletter or their e-bulletin, or there's lots of different ways of getting that message out there. For us, we use our two blogs and our YouTube channel to support all the writings and the various services and activities that we offer as Brummet Media. So the main blog, which is the most popular media that we have out, is Brummet's Conscious blog, and it's been around for 20 some odd years. I can't remember exactly how many. I just wrote an article about it not too long ago celebrating it. You'd think I would remember right now, but it's over 20 years that we've been running that blog. And initially, the first 18 years or so, it was a daily blog. And then about 5, 6 years ago, we revamped it and we slowed it down a little bit so that I could put more of my energies into other activities. But it is published every 2 to 3 days. So there's new content there every 2 to 3 days. We tend to have about around 20,000 views a month as a mean average. So,
Lillian, we have a question here. What is the e-book?
mhm. Okay, so an e-bulletin, it's very similar to like an e-newsletter. It's where an e-bulletin would be your clients. Let's say you have a dry cleaning business and your clients, you have their emails, and maybe you're running a special on this Thursday and you want to remind them this special is coming up. So that would be your e-bulletin. You would send out your email occasionally out to that person. An e-newsletter is similar, only it's more scheduled. It's more regularly published. It's every 2 weeks, it's every month, it's every 2 months, whatever your schedule it is, but you stick to it. You choose it, you stick to it. It goes out on the first Thursday of every month, and that's your day that it goes out. So consistency is the key with your newsletter. E-bulletins, a little more casual, more like announcements that you're sending out over your email list.
So it's more like highlights, right? Kind of like a bulletin highlight.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So, Lillian, we talked about this before we went back and forth, and we wanted to find a conversation that we felt that needed to be out there. And you came up with the title "Intentional Networking." So, can
Mhm.
you tell the listeners what intentional networking is about?
Okay, so for me, being conscious about what your impact is going to be with each action that you're going to have, and then creating a plan, an action plan to make that happen. So when it comes to networking, we want to go at it very intentionally with intent. So that means like we're going to say, uh, first of all, we need to be aware that the networking is going to involve time behind the scenes, especially when you first start, because you're just starting out the gate. It's going to take a little while. Eventually, you'll smooth out the rough edges and you'll get it down to a much more compact amount of time from your schedule. But initially, you're going to need to clear some time for that. You need to be able to take some like thought time, really think about before you go rushing out and sending something out that might be considered a spam, that might overwhelm someone or underwhelm them, they might feel like, hey, I have to work too hard to figure out what the heck they're talking about. They're confused, they give up, and it jeopardizes your all the energy, all the planning that you did. So stepping back and really thinking about it first is like really important. So the next thing I want to say is your mindset when you go into networking. Your intent should be long-term networking relationships that you're developing. So rather than just going in and saying, hey, I'm having a sale on Sunday, to a retailer that works in a store right beside you, and maybe you guys aren't even in the same genre, you don't even serve the same clients, but maybe you could have the sale on the same day and you can both announce it to your various contacts. You can do like, you can collaborate on an ad in the newspaper or whatever to get the information out there, and then encourage the people that come to your store to go to the other person and they do the same thing. Everybody benefits because they get the discounts. So this is how you develop those relationships. So instead of just saying, I'm going to do this one thing right now and that's it, I'm washing my hands of that person and I'm going to look for another cold contact to start networking with. So you want to find that balance where you're also nurturing the relationships you've already created, because you want them to continue over a very, very long period of time. You may not do an event or a networking activity with them every single year or every single month, but you want them in your list. You want to be able to reach out to them when it's appropriate to, approach them with a new idea. So one of the things that you can do to help to refine this is to do some brainstorming sessions with your friends, your colleagues, your supporters of your business, your staff, if you have them, your partner, if you have it, to help you come up with some ideas. How can we maybe network with people? What are some ideas that we can toss around? What are we doing already in our business activities, or that we have planned coming up in the future that maybe we can tweak just enough that we can open it up for networking opportunities? Also, is there a way that maybe you can create a page on your website or somewhere that maybe a page on your blog or something like that, where you can offer a list of current networking ideas, networking opportunities that you really want to pursue and are able to pursue right now? You could have a list of those there for them. And then below that, a list of some potential reciprocation ideas. What do you want from them? What are you hoping for them to do in exchange? And so by being able to refer them to that page, it just refines everything. If they have any questions or like, what do you mean by networking? They can go there and find all that out. Also, you want to look at like your procedures, your current campaigns. And before you start out on any campaign that you've chosen, think about how your communication is going to reflect your brand, the wording, the keywords you're going to use, your design, your logos, your links, your signature, everything that you're using to communicate with that contact that you're going to be reaching out to should reflect your brand, right? You want them to always be very clear about who you are, and who you appear to be needs to be consistent with everything that you do. And so keep things very crisp, keep things very clear, use bullets. If you have to use commas in a sentence, put it in bullets. It makes it easier for the reader to digest what you're trying to say in a very compact, quick. They can scan it, understand what you're saying, and get back to you. If it's wordy, blah, 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 they're going to go, oh, I can't deal with this right now. And they might never come back and read your email, even if they save it for later. So those are some tips to get you started with how you approach your networking with intent. It goes a little deeper than that, but those are the basic, you must do's.
Well, and the thing that I found about intentional networking is building a relationship, right? And finding the purpose behind it. Not just that one-time opportunity. It's the building the relationship. And that's one thing that me and you talked about is in today's society with networking, we're not building the relationship. We're just knocking on doors and saying, hey, here's my product, here's my thing, just buy it. We're not taking the time to build that relationship. And that's why we wanted to bring this conversation to the table. It's about seeking individuals who align with the professional goals and resonate with your values and passions. It's about the quality conversations, not just quantity of contacts. It means that we're taking the time to get to know who we're collaborating with and who we're working with, and guarding our businesses and brands as well with, you know. Um,
Mhm.
we have a
I
question
think
here.
Go ahead.
We have a question here about cold calling.
Mhm.
What is that, Lillian, for the listeners out there that
Okay,
don't know?
so a cold call is basically knocking on a door, so to speak, that you haven't been to yet. You're walking down a neighborhood street, and maybe you know some of those houses, you know the people in those houses. And so knocking on those doors is a warm knock. You've already been there. They know you. They know your name. They're likely to open the door and not just peek through the hole and shout, "Who are you? What do you want?" So a cold call is when you're knocking on a door that uh, hasn't announced a come hither. They haven't sent out some sort of notice saying, "Hey, I'm interested in meeting people such and such. Come meet me at my email or reach out to me." They haven't done that invite. And so you're going there uninvited, knocking on that door saying, "Hi, I'd love to sell you this vacuum." Right? So how you go about that is so very important. Now, a cool a submission or approach or what have you is really someone who has put out an invite. "Hey, I'm really looking for some networking contacts. I'm looking actually for a mentor. Do you have any advice about this, that, or the other thing?" And that is an invite. Now you can reach out to them. You can offer your expertise, your thoughts, your skills, your resources. You can connect them with another contact, and you can be the person that makes that connection. And so they continually, over the years that they know you and get to know you deeper, you're continually thinking of them. "Gee, I just met someone that I think that this other person in my contact list could really benefit from knowing, and maybe they can get together or collaborate in some way. I'm going to introduce them. Joe, meet Judith," in an email, copying everybody's emails, feel free to connect and network with each other, whatever. So as long as you're the person that passes that on. So when you're like thinking about approaching a cold, you haven't approached somebody yet. You're looking at it from the standpoint of selflessly offering something rather than coming in and saying, "What can they do for me? And I want that and this, that, and the other thing. And maybe I'll follow through with one or two things that I can offer in exchange." No,
Yeah.
you're coming into it more with, "What can I offer first?" I want them to want to work with me. I want them to want to keep me on their contact list. And I want them to refer me to others. So I need to appear as an expert in my field. So if I can refer them to someone, if I can offer a resource, if I can share their name in my ad, if I can say, "Hey, I got some great advice from so-and-so during an interview," name them, drop and do that name drop, and then let them know you did that name drop. Can you partner with them in some way? Or if they're doing a sale, can I announce that in my newsletter? Or can I maybe mention their business in my newsletter and they can mention my business in their newsletter? And their subscribers will now know more about me and maybe check out my website. So there's things that we can do. Maybe our staff have decided that they really want to participate in this community event. Let's say a school is starting to put in a garden, a vegetable garden for their class. They need some volunteers to come help, dig the dirt and stuff like that. Some of your staff says, "Yeah, let's all do this. Let's do this together as a team." Cool. Get involved, be there, do that. Get those press releases out there, make sure people know about it, take the pictures, talk about it on your newsletters, on your website. But beyond that, why can't we invite some of our contacts? "Hey, I got this activity that's going on. It sounds like a great deal of fun. Do any of your staff or yourself want to get involved in this? If you don't want to get involved in it, maybe you could tell other people about it and draw some more volunteers to this project." And in doing so, everybody's collaborating and getting involved. It's not just about trying to get sales or trying to get media exposure or whatever. It's how can we work together? And we want to nurture those relationships over a long period of time. So how do you do that? You keep records. So what I do is I'm old school. I use Excel. So I have a simple spreadsheet with like 4 columns. That's all it is. Each row has like the date for that year. Say I reached out May 31st that year. So that would be my date. And then, Liz is my contact. And this is her website and this is her contact information. Then on my final column is just going to have brief notes. Really, really brief notes because they can get quite wordy, right? So I'll just say we met through a networking event in 1998. I've appeared on her blog on this date. She appeared on my radio show on that date. I don't have to have all the links, all the information there. All I need is just brief. So when I go back and I'm going to reach out to that person again, I know exactly where I met them, what type of collaborations we had, what we last talked about, and if there was anything that we talked about that maybe I can follow up on now. So I'll do my follow-ups typically annually. So it doesn't necessarily have to fall in February. It doesn't necessarily have to fall in August. When it's appropriate in my schedule to take on that activity, I'll bring up my contact list and I'll start reaching out to every single contact on that list that I've had successful networking relationships with and that they have expressed interest in continuing to network. And so I'll just reach out. Hey, how's it going? If I have nothing to offer, how's it going? I'd love to hear about what you're doing and, to reconnect with you. And even if I have nothing to offer right now or any project or campaign. So it's just important to make sure we touch base and they always remember our name.
Well, and as you're sharing all of this information, Lillian, it's building the community, right? Getting people connected and collaborating, and like shout outs and getting cross promotion, is building a relationship, because you're not only one-sided relationship, because if you're just looking for content and creations and stuff like that, but you're not willing to go the other way, then that's kind of like a cold call for me.
Right.
I don't miss right.
Yeah,
and I don't do well with cold calling. I'm just like like, what? You want me to do all the work, but you don't want, like, there's no 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Where when we
Those
met
people are
last
kind of
season-
seen like as takers in the industry.
Yes.
That's the common term for them now, is takers. It's basically they're coming in with gimme,
Yeah.
and
we
not
talked about
coming
this
in with
last
saying,
season.
hey, I've got something for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And last season we talked about this, Lillian, because of the gardens, right? You and Dave have these
Right.
incredible gardens where you were living, because you relocated since then. But
Yes.
I mean, you had these beautiful gardens that the community got to enjoy, that you got many awards for in that as well. But you were planting different seeds. You were planting different vegetables, different flowers and stuff like that. And what we're saying with intentional networking is we're planting seeds in different flavors and blends, that we want to build the relationship with you. We want to know how we can help you. What potential can we both grow from, right? If you need some water from Lillian and you need some soil from Miss Liz, we plant a beautiful garden and we create a beautiful network. And that's what we're trying to bring to the table, is building that relationship and taking the time to warm it up a bit, because you went from cold to cool to warm, and that's what temperature is. That's what the relationships are, is all of those temperatures as well, right?
Yeah. And you might come up with, like, say during your brainstorm session, you might come up with like 30 different possible networking ideas. So space those out, approach each idea at the appropriate time with the appropriate networking contact, so that you have diverse things happening all the time over a long period of time. So, you might, one year you might partner with them on a sale. The next year you might partner with them in a volunteer activity. The next time you might participate in a community fundraiser. Maybe you're going to like exchange coupons, or maybe you're going to create like an online bulletin board, which kind of really acts like the old-fashioned corkboard. Sometimes they even make them to look like an old-fashioned corkboard. And this is where you're basically listing recommended resources. And those recommended resources can be from your contact list. Recommended local businesses that, I recommend to my to my clients because you've worked with them, you've purchased from them, and you feel confident in recommending them to people. So you could just have that on your website, and that can be a networking tool. Your blog can be a networking tool, right? Referencing them whenever you can. Maybe you can be a mentor at one point and they can be a mentor to you. Maybe they can just be like a shoulder to cry on when times are tough, and they're there for you in that way. Maybe you can offer special discounts to their staff. Like say there's a big business in town and you want to try to draw some of those clients to your soup cafe. And so you can go to that place and say, look, everybody here for the month of September gets so much of a discount in this building. And all they have to do is tell me they work at this building, what office, or some sort of, proof that they work there, and or use this coupon code or something like that specifically for that building. And for this month only, they get 10% off of any meals that they buy at my lunch cafe. And so there's ways of going in and just offering until you start developing these relationships, these strong relationships. So how do you go about finding these? Well, they could be your neighbors, they could be a retailer right next to you. But if you're like me and Liz and you're working from your home, there's no next door. there's no local physical community. So you end up going online, you meeting people, you go to like social events, both on and offline. You'll go to like networking events on and offline within your genre or within your local community. Like your Chamber of Commerce hosts all kinds of events, Toastmasters hold all kinds of events. You can go through, what I would suggest is, first thing, go through your junk drawer, all your drawers, all your cabinets, your purse, what have you. Look for all those business cards that you've been collecting all these years and find a way to reach out to them. Even if it was the gas guy who came to repair your tank and you're saying to him, look, I really enjoyed your service. I kept your card because I knew I was going to be referring your business in the future or possibly using your business in the future. I wanted to reach out and reconnect and let you know I really appreciated your services. Hey, by the way, I'm starting this new business and this is my new service. And if you know anyone that's interested, right? So you can connect with people and get the word of mouth happening in all kinds of different ways. Your personal address book, your contact list, your friends connections, and your socials. Don't forget those. But then think about friend of a friend. So maybe your uncle's daughter's teacher is someone who is interested in something that you're doing. So you can go beyond just your personal circles, but start there and start doing concentric circles, beyond that, growing those circles and growing them. Start attending events, and spreading out your wings from there. So just start small from your junk drawer and work out from there.
And Lillian, a few years ago, I went to a networking event and everybody told me bring 3 cards per person because you want to have a card for the person that you're giving it to, a friend of theirs, and a recommendation that they might want to recommend your business by having an open conversation with the elevator pitches, right? And have a real good elevator
Absolutely.
pitch when you're meeting people with the networking, right? And don't be scared to be different and
Right.
open that door, right? Like, what do you
Absolutely.
bring to the table? Like, Miss Liz brings tea, but I don't bring a beverage. I bring storytelling and words. Really practice those elevator pitches as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, good thing with the cards is if, like, we always try to recommend people use all the space, but leave white space. So use your back side, use the reverse side. Don't forget to use both sides. But for networking events, sometimes it's easier if you leave a portion or all of the back side of your business card blank, because now you can write on that before you give it to John that you just met. You can say, Miss Liz will get back to you on Tuesday about the basketball coach my daughter is benefiting from that I told you about in the networking event. Perhaps during the discussion, something like that comes up random. And you're like, oh, I know somebody that would be great that could help you with your child's basketball issues. And so you write that on the card and then you write another card to yourself. if you've gotten his card, especially, write on the back of his card and say, get back to John on Tuesday about my basketball recommendation or whatever. So this way, when he gets home and he pulls out 5,000 business cards that he just got and all this other, tchotchkes and all these other things that he's pulling out of his pocket from the networking event, half the time he met so many people that he doesn't even remember hardly any of them unless they really stood out because their hair was funky or something, and they stood out to them in their memory. So when he pulls out your card, though, there's a note there that tells him, oh yeah, I remember talking to that person. And then when they hear from you, they'll remember, right? So it'll be crisp and clear in their mind, and that's a really good tip. And it's also a great way of, so you don't, like, when you leave, you're thinking, oh, all those people, and I was going to write down all these things, and now I've forgotten half of them. And some people will have like books in their purse or something like that. They'll go to the washroom and just quickly write everything down that they just, thought of or heard of or whatever. But I find those cards are so much more helpful for me. I just jot down little bullet notes because for me, I just need prompts. And then when I get home, I know exactly what I wanted to say to that person, propose to that person, ideas that I had after the conversation. I'm sitting there waiting for a speaker to come up, and all of a sudden some ideas pop off in my head. I can look for John's card and make a note about something then and there, and then I can follow up on it when I get home without losing track of things.
Well, and that little bullet is that personal touch, right? It's adding that moment for that individual. Instead of just saying, here's my card, you're actually having that conversation, and little brief, it's like a postcard, right? You're just doing a little short sentence or a little keynote or something, right? And then you're reaching out to that person, and that also makes a huge difference when you're networking, because you're taking that personal time to engage with that person.
Absolutely. And thank you notes. Believe it or not, thank you notes, I know they're old school, but they're coming back. And when you do get one, it is so memorable. Like, I don't know, Liz, if you've gotten them from your guests, but when I was running my radio show, I would get, written feedback from people. They would mail me a thank you card. They would mail me a gift. They would email a thank you card, various ways of them expressing their gratitude. And wow. Those stood out among the many, many other people that were a part of the show. So why not stand out? Like, how can you stand out? How can you be different?
Yeah. Well, even thank you cards, there's different ways of saying thank you, right? And appreciation to, like a podcast host, supporting your guests. So if they have a book or they have a program, word of mouth goes a long way. Or buying a copy of that book and leaving a review, that goes a long way. The little things make a big difference in the networking world, and business world as well. And Lillian and me, we're heart to heart girls, and we really want to make it that, we're here to build relationships. We're not here to build just content. We're here to build that relationship where if you need somebody to talk to, you can reach out to us and say, you know what, I don't know how my business is going right now. Can you give me some feedback? Because sometimes feedback is what we need as well. In order to switch things, because we're so stuck in our ways sometimes it gets stagnant, right? It gets stale. It gets like a really stale cup of tea. You got to take that tea bag out and you have to say, oh, let me see if I reach out to somebody and somebody can help me, And one thing that's really worked for me, Lillian, is an accountability person saying, okay, Miss Liz, you've said this. Now where's the work? Where's the results? Right. And that doesn't mean you tell all social media. You have that one person, and that one person is calling you out on it and saying, hey, you said by Friday you would have this done, and it's Tuesday the next week. Where are you going with this, girl? That has helped me a lot.
Being a part of a group or just having that one person that you meet with on a regular basis can make that huge difference. I've a few different writers groups, but the one activity that I find the most helpful is I meet with Phyllis Chubb, who's another writer, and she and I just meet casually. We're not there to do anything, marketing wise or anything like that, but we meet every single Monday, and as long as it fits our schedules. And we just support each other. We talk about what we're doing that week. And because of that, even though she doesn't say, oh, did you finish what you said you were going to do? She doesn't do that. But I feel compelled. I'm like, oh, crap, Monday's coming up. I said I was going to do such and such. I really want to get at least a start on that before I meet with Phyllis, because I don't want to be hanging my head and saying, I didn't get to it again this week, right? So
Yeah.
it kind of holds you to, like you say, accountability by having a support system in place as well. But just having someone to just say, oh, boo-hoo me, I'm feeling about this thing. And she goes, I know, me too. And, just having that support in that way can be very, very helpful.
Absolutely. And it goes right into your tea, Lillian, because I want to get into the tea that you gave me, because
Okay.
you gave me the first tea you sent me was knowledge, generous, and responsible or proactive. And that's exactly what we're doing, right? Is having that
Right.
accountability person and being active, being in the moment. But we're being generous with ourselves as well, because we're taking the feedback as not personal, but as a growth part. So tell me why you gave me those 3 words, because I know why you gave me the words, but I want you to tell me why you gave me those words.
Well, because I think to me, that's what we try to do, in our business, whether it's in the drum studio, helping students, accelerate and grow as musicians, helping music teachers accelerate and grow as teachers, or repairing instruments that people couldn't formally play before because they were broken pieces, and now there's something out there, creating joy in the world and giving them joy. These are beautiful things to be doing, to impart that knowledge, to clutch knowledge and keep it to your chest and be like, no, this is mine. I worked hard for this. I developed this. These are my skills, my knowledge. That doesn't work for me. And it never has worked for me as a person. I know when I first started out in business, in the world of business, that's exactly what the more mature adults were advising me back then. They were saying, don't give away so much. You give away too much. You got to be careful what you're doing and all of this. Yes, to a point,
Yes.
but things have evolved and changed now, where it's, if you want to succeed over a long period of time, you've got to do so with your arms wide open and with a really giving and collaborative nature. You can't go into it with this selfish me. What am I going to get out of it? This is mine. This is mine, my territory, mine. Everybody back off. Or what do you want from me, with your fists
Yeah.
already balled up? You have to open up your arms and be more willing to be collaborative.
Yeah. Well, and as a leader as well, right? You have to have that open mind of understanding and learning from others, because if you go into a room and you're just like, I know everything, well, you're not going to really network really well with the rest of the people, because they're going to be like, well, if you know everything, you don't need us, right? You've
Right.
already shut the mind down. You don't want to collaborate. You don't want to connect. You don't, because you have all the answers. And I myself am like that, Lillian. I don't do well with that, because in today's society, no matter how old you are, we can all learn from someone. We can all get different pointers and different bullets, and get out there and understand that sometimes the way that we're doing it is not the right way. Maybe we need to just twist it a bit, right? Make it like a twisted tea, like when you make a lemonade, and that you got to twist that lemon sometimes, and it's got to get bitter and it's got to get sour a bit, and you got to get uncomfortable, because in the business world you have to be uncomfortable, because if you're comfortable, you're not growing. You're eventually gonna get bored. You're gonna say, oh well, I don't know, maybe I'll just close the business. I've been doing it for 20 years, that's enough. you know you have to keep that openness. The
Well, yeah,
second.
when you lose enthusiasm for what you're doing, passion for what you're doing, it it bleeds into how other people then perceive you as well. You know,
Yeah.
if you're excited and you keep it fresh and you keep changing and tweaking, and you know, you're in this river and now you're in this creek and now it's a tiny little tributary, and it's, you know, you don't have as much water to run your canoe on or whatever, and now there's this obstacle in the way, and maybe you have to put the canoe on your back and climb over the obstacle and put the canoe back in the water. And you know, there's things that we have to do in our career. You ebb and flow. You got to be flexible. What's coming up? You weren't expecting this massive challenge that just landed on your plate. Now you have to deal with it. Instead of thinking of it as this great big mountain to climb, you know, we can look at it in an excited way, like that we get to expand, we get to grow, we get to understand our knowledge base, you know, grow our knowledge base and understand a bigger part of the picture. And by gaining those experiences and learning how to navigate things that hit your path that you weren't expecting, can really create this flexibility in things. Like for me, I'm kind of anal about having my plans. I have my plans, I have my business plans, they're 5-year plans, and I break it down to a year, and that year is broken down to a month. And so I have a basic idea of little steps that I know I can potentially finish within that time period. Don't always, but you know, and you know, and it gives me this map to follow. I know that I'm heading there, and these are the steps that I'm taking to get there. But at the same time, if something interrupts that, I have to be okay with that. I can't beat myself up. I can't have insomnia for 2 weeks because you know, this other project is still nagging at me while I'm dealing with this other thing. You know, because our business services vary so much, it's a lot of ebb and flow. So sometimes 1 month we'll get like 15 drum repairs, bang, you know, all these drum repairs, one right after the other. And so we have to set other things aside so we can focus on, you know, this. And so, you know, we've developed a way of managing that ebb and flow and having a bit of a contingency plan, you know, planning ahead. For instance, I might be scheduling on my blog 3-4 months in advance, but that also gives me a buffer. If something challenges my schedule during that 3 or 4 months, I don't have to worry about, oh gosh, I don't have any new content coming out on the blog because I haven't schedule it in advance. I've given myself that buffer, that time frame to go ahead and deal with whatever challenges, and then get back to the, you know, blog content when I need to.
And it goes into your second cup of tea that you gave me, because your second cup of tea is tenacious, environmental, and accountable. Accountable, yeah. And that's what you're saying, right? Is sometimes we need that break. We need that flow in the water. You know, we hit a creek and it goes to the left instead of the right, but we have our backup, right? We have that plan B that's already ready. You have your blogs already up for 3 months in case something happens in that 3 months. You know, and that's where the tenacity comes in, because you keep flowing, you keep going. You know, so why'd you give me those three
It's
words?
kind of like being committed to your marriage, you know,
Right?
either you commit to your marriage without divorce in the back of your mind. Oh, I can always get divorced. All right, you know, I have this special hidden savings account so that if anything goes wrong, I've gotten out, I'm out. Is that really committed to your marriage, you know? So obviously, if you're in a difficult marriage, that's a different thing. But I'm just talking like if you're heading into and you're newly married and you're committing to this marriage, but you've already got this backup plan. You know, I can get out anytime I want to. So being an entrepreneur, you kind of go into it like that. You're committed to this. No matter what, you're going to find a way to find your niche and make a living out of it. You know, maybe I've got to go off to this side a little bit because that's where the income is this year. And next year, maybe I can go back to what I was heading to, you know, before, because now that I can see that there's an opening in the market over there. So we kind of have to just be willing to do the work, but also be very committed. Like tenacious to me means you're going to just do it no matter what. You're going to find a way to make this work.
And you're talking about the environmental, you know, a lot of your work is done with the environment that you're around, right? The surroundings that you're around, the gardening, the writing, the promoting and marketing, networking, and all of that. So what is it about the environmental that why you pick that word for, Lillian?
environment is, I think, a passion of mine that I've never been able to let go, but in a positive way. I've never been okay with like doom and gloom. Oh, all these things are terrible. All this issues. Oh, look at what so and so is doing, pointing fingers over there, and those people. I'm more of like, what can I do? And do it in a positive way. If I'm going to when I was doing freelance work, I would write for publications that encouraged like ecotourism or alternative agriculture or green energy or reducing waste or helping people develop their business, because all these ideas are out there that could be very viable, but they become afraid and overwhelmed by the world of business. They're not prepared, and so in doing that, they fail before they even begin. But if we can educate them and inspire them, then there's all these people out there with these incredible tools and skills that they can offer the world and create positive change in that way. So it depends on how you look at your business and what your services are, but you can do that. You can look at your in-house policies. How am I purchasing? Who am I purchasing from? Is that someone I would want to call my friend, someone I believe in what they do and how they run their business, and therefore I'm supporting them because of that? Can I celebrate what they're doing in some way so that other people are aware of this and that also I care about these things? So it's about my branding. I want people to know that I care about the environment. We get involved with all kinds of local fundraising events like, silent auctions and stuff with nonprofits. And that's a great way for authors to, get known locally without spending a lot of money. It's the cost of the book, your cost of the book. And so really that's all it is. Maybe some shipping, maybe a poster, but most of the time it's just supplying the one product or a gift certificate to one of our services, or maybe we have extra drums that Dave was able to donate to a certain event. So there's things that we can do that helps get the word out, but is also contributing to positive things. And so what can we do where we are with what we have now to make a difference? And it might just be starting by just looking at your in-house policies. Start with that. Are you maximizing your recycling and reuse and repurposing? Are you purchasing? What are your purchasing habits? You can just start right there and start doing concentric circles from there. Start small, but then look at bigger things. How else can I get involved with what's going on around me in one way or another?
And it's important that we have these tools, and this information out there, because I think that we can make a difference with the world if we start sharing our resources and our ups and downs as well, because it opens up to somebody coming in and saying, well, you know what, I have this source or this business or this service that can help you to increase that, right? So Lillian, your last word for your second T is accountable. Tell me why you gave me that word, accountable.
This is a pressure that I feel really heavy on my shoulders. It's like I'm responsible. I feel the responsibility. So it kind of goes like this. So we become conscious that every moment we're having an impact, and that we have the ability to choose what that impact is going to be. With that comes awareness, right? Awareness means, okay, now we know, what are we going to do with that, right? The responsibility comes in really heavy with that knowledge, because you always feel like you have to do something,
Yeah.
And there can be a really good side about that, but it can also sometimes be an overwhelming and a wearing thing.
Yeah.
So I've had to try to find that balance where I'm able to feel like I'm enough, what I'm doing is enough at that moment in time on that day. I can't expect myself to be 100% every single day. And so probably most days I'm not. So, I give myself that break, because otherwise we tend to think like, oh, we didn't do enough. We're not big enough. We're not strong enough. We didn't donate enough. We didn't, what we did was such a tiny thing. How can we possibly celebrate that with our clients? It's such a little thing. Why would we want to do that? Of course you want to do that. For one thing, by telling other people what we're doing, as a business or as a person, an individual person, we're inspiring all the people around us. You inspire by doing.
Yeah.
But the more that we share what we're doing, the more people that we can inspire, and maybe get more and more, wonderful things happening in the world just by doing, just by sharing.
Absolutely. So, Lillian, if anybody wanted to reach out to you or connect with you, what's the best place to connect with you?
Well, I would say probably Facebook or LinkedIn. You can just message me there, once you've connected with me there. I'm on a lot of different socials. So pretty much, just go online on Google or whatever and do a search for Lillian and Dave Brummet, or Lillian Brummet, Brummet, and you'll find a lot of different contact information there. Ways of reaching out. Our blog, Conscious Discussions, is consciousdiscussions.blogspot.com. So I hope people will check out that as well. If you visit the About page, you'll see our contact information is available there, as well as, submission information, query information, and networking information is available on that blog. So I encourage people to check that out for sure. Of course, we'd love for people to check out our books on Amazon. So whatever country you're in, .com, .ca, .co, UK, what have you, visit that Amazon site and just look up Lillian and Dave Brummet, Brummet, and you'll find all 7 of our current books there, and the 3 that are coming up in the next few months, which I'm really excited about. We've got one coming out in November. We've got another one planned for like February, and we're hoping to have the 3rd book coming out probably around the end of summer, maybe midsummer 2025. So a lot of stuff is coming up in the publication schedule.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me again on Tea Time. It's always a pleasure having my guests come back, because I get to dig a little deeper, right? And I learn so much from my guests. So thank you again, Lillian, for joining me and sharing a double cup of tea today, and some really good information and tools and tips that all the listeners out there, I hope that you take them to heart. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can connect with Lillian or myself, Miss Liz. I want to give a special shout out to Tammy Faye, who was also a Tea Time guest in season 1, and she has Calm Your Monster Down, and she has also a new channel where she does tarot reading cards. So check out her YouTube channels for that as well. So thank you, Tammy, for that. I want to thank all the listeners on Instagram who have come and supported Miss Liz today. So I have seen your names in that as well. So I want to give you a couple of shout outs here. Thank you for joining. Keep sharing these tea times and getting them out, because that's what these tea times are. It's another form of networking to get the information out there, the tools out there, and that as well. Miss Liz will be back on Thursday with 2 more TEAs to join me, and we'll be talking with Daphne, my Sacred Hearts Rising sister from Edmonton. She'll be sharing her book called You Do You. And then we have Jolie Interready. I think I'm saying it right. She'll be on for author and illustrator. So a lot of cool topics coming up. And if you'd like to know more about any of the other guests that are on Tea Time in September, just check out Miss Liz's website and social medias for that as well. But again, Lillian, thank you so much. And what final message do you have for everybody out there today?
Never feel like you're too small to follow your dreams and your passions. You don't know what kind of impact that you could have along the way that could change. It could change the world one person at a time, the influence that you could have. Just be aware that you are having an impact with every moment that is in your life. Every second that goes by, that was a moment, and you had an impact. So how is that impact going to be in the future? Are you making a conscious choice about that? That's what I would like to leave you with.
Well, again, thank you so much, Lillian, and we will stay in touch and we will see where this relationship takes us, because there's many doors that will be opening with Miss Liz in 2025 with many of my guests. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you again on Thursday, same time, same place, and we'll do this all over again. Until then, keep serving your tea and keep being true to your purpose in life.